Hey everyone, it is Eric Stafford here, and welcome to another Tuesday ISOOSI chat. Today's date, Tuesday, February 11th, and very excited to have a hangout today. Special guest Mark Trefagan from Stone Temple Consulting. Mark works with Eric Eng, who has been a past guest on the ISOOSI Hangouts. And today's topic, Google Plus. Is it a ghost town or is it a gold mine? Pretty interesting topic. I know a lot of people are talking about Google Plus these days, and Mark knows quite a bit about it. So, Ammon, do you want to kick things off for us?
Yeah, sure. One of the things that a lot of people find is because Google Plus is still quite new and still quite fresh, you're not Johnny-come-lately on Google Plus. If you join Facebook or Twitter today, you're there with rivals that have been there for a few years, that have built up that following, and you're seen as the new guy. Whereas Google Plus, it's not too late. You're not seen as a latecomer. You're still seen as right up there on the court, and there's nobody better to talk about Google Plus with than Mark. So delighted to have you on the show, Mark. Have you got any opening comments along those lines? Anything I've just mentioned?
I'm delighted to be on with you and Eric. Thanks so much for having me here today. And I guess my opening comment would be, Google Plus has changed my life. It's kind of like giving a testimony in an old-fashioned church revival meeting, but I can say that's literally true. It has opened up relationships that have led to opportunities for me that I've never seen before in my life. And I think that's the thing that those of us that really have taken the deep dive here get amazed by is the depth and the connectivity, depth of relationships and the connectivity that we can have. And I'm sure we'll be talking about this, how much Hangouts has contributed to that and enhanced that as we go. But it's something that you'd be ashamed to say a few years ago because it sounds so terribly nerdy. But I say it with my head held high now that a good number of my best friends, literally, in the world are people on Google+, and a number of them of people that I've never met in the flesh. And I really do count them as best friends. So people could say, well, that happens on any social network. You could do that anywhere, and certainly you can. But I think one of the things that's made Google Plus different and unique, and again, for those of us that invested the time in it, that took the deep dive, is that Google Plus, partly because it's so new, and because you go there and the old complaint, well, none of my friends are here, or none of my customers are here. So you look around and you go back to Facebook or you go back to Twitter. This is a network that both forces you to discover new people, new connections, new relationships you wouldn't have found anywhere else, and facilitates that, makes it fairly easy to do. Even though the search here isn't perfect, I think it far exceeds search on most other social networks in its utility. And you can find the conversations already going on that you're going to be interested in, that you can contribute to. That's what I did. I was on Google Plus from its third day, and I began immediately just looking for people who were talking about stuff that I was interested in, engaging in their conversations. They found out like, hey, this Mark, he's an interesting guy. He adds some things to this. They would follow me, recommend me to other people, and it just grew from there. So I just wanted to bring in that aspect first. Certainly, we can talk about some of the things we've been discovering and seeing about how it intersects with search and with your overall SEO and marketing. Do you want to get into that at this point?
Yeah, I'd love to know more about that.
Well, I could go on for the whole hour about that, so I'll try to be succinct. But I think one of the most important things for people to understand is this is Google. You're getting to play in Google's playground, and they intentionally set this up. This is a fundamental understanding people need to have. They didn't need to create another Facebook. They didn't need. A lot of people think, well, this is just their Johnny-come-lately attempt to compete with Facebook, and maybe on some levels it is that. But I think there's a much deeper plan going on here, and that is that Google wanted a network in which to have people come in, incentivize them to identify themselves to Google, to say, like, this is who I am, and now Google, you're going to be able to see and follow and track all my connections and my relationships, certainly within the network itself, within Google+, but also through things like Google Authorship out onto the web, out onto the things that I do, the things I connect to, the things I create out on the web. it makes it easy for Google to see those connections. And what we're seeing is that part of this being Google, and I think this is very important to understand, is that they created the structure of this social network unlike any other. They created it almost like a mini version of the web, where every profile and every page, and now every community actually, is almost like its own website, in that it has unique authority in Google. So there's a common mistake out there in the marketing world when people hear like Google Plus is good for SEO. They say, oh good, I'll just show up, I'll create a page, and I'll start dumping links on there, and I'm going to get all kinds of SEO. It doesn't work that way. Where you do get the benefit is if you've taken the time to build a profile or a page that's not only getting lots of followers, it's not even so much that, but it seems to be much more who you interact with. If your page is getting engagement from, it's getting reshared by other people who have built a level of authority here, it raises your authority. And I've actually seen that in search with my public Google Plus posts, because early on I built a high authority in my profile because of the connections that I made. I was able to consistently, when I reshared posts from people who had tens or sometimes hundreds of thousands of more followers than I did, but they were celebrities who just had followers by virtue of being who they were, but who didn't get a lot of, didn't do a lot of engagement, didn't involve themselves in a lot of relationships here. I was able, when I reshared them, if you search for the title of their post, time and again, it would be my post that would show up high in search, not theirs. And so it's that basic authority. If you think in the terms, if you know anything about SEO, a lot of what you've learned out on the web applies here. It's who's linking to you, but the links here are relational and they're engagement links. And then there's another level to it that I've demonstrated, that links out on the web to your profile, Google also counts toward the authority of it. So that's a whole other area, but for now, let me just stop talking to say that's a very, very important thing to understand, that it's based on relative authorities, and those authorities are built through relationships.
Yeah, and it is one of those interesting things. I've never been quite sure why Google have made Google Plus. There's a couple of possible motives. One is to undo the slight debacle that Orkut was, because Orkut was Google's first attempt at a social network. Huge amount of buzz, huge amount of disappointment, and now it's a place for people to post pictures of their Brazilians or something like that. Then there's the very fact that pretty much what we're seeing on Google Plus is the internal tool that Google's own teams have been using for a long time for communication. And this is something I know that you noticed when I pointed this out before. Google's much more for doing network. It's much more about collaboration than any other social network out there. The idea that you can put together a community, this is my team working on this, and that community can interact, but they can be involved in other projects and keep them completely separate. That's all baked in. And one of the things I noted in the comments for this when I was writing up what I thought we were going to be discussing today is the fact that people keep calling Google a ghost town is something I find really interesting, because it's not the first thing that people should be having come to mind. It's not just that it's empty. It feels like something made for a much bigger community than it has. And I think that is really apparent at first glance. The features here are so rich and getting richer every day. That
sorry, I mean, that's a really good point, Amon, because one of the things that we're finding, like as I've worked with clients and helping them to get started on Google Plus, is that not only do you have to sometimes go out and find the audience within Google Plus, but they may not be there. You might be in a particular vertical where you do the searches and you find there isn't yet a community, or there aren't really a lot of people talking about my business or my area of expertise on Google Plus. Well, then the next strategy is go out and bring them in. And we've been doing that with things like Hangout shows that you can share anywhere, because they're live on YouTube. Anybody in the world can watch them. You can put a link up to it, on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you want. so the people that aren't here can get engaged in that. And then you do call to action, say like, hey, we've got a community. If you want to talk more about this, join our community here on Google+. It incentivizes people to come in, and even if they only ever use your community, that's all you want. You've got them. You could, as you said, we've got the tools here and the ability to build our own little worlds. Google's given us again the playground, and we're picking up the Tinker Toys and the Erector sets, and we're building our own world within it.
I've come to the party late. I don't know if you can see me. I think you can see Eric, but I do apologise. We are having some technical difficulties there, Mark. But better late than never.
Well, Carlos, welcome. Glad you made it, man. I know what it's like to have the computer act up. So, Mark, what when you first explained how you were able to just kind of interact with people and create conversations, and then suddenly these conversations would rank higher, sometimes even than the celebrities that you were reaching out to or talking to, what immediately popped into my mind was affiliate marketing. It sounds like a really big opportunity for ethical affiliate marketers, and it reminds me of years ago when people first started to discover affiliate marketing and say, oh, well, man, maybe I could just try and rank higher in Google than the people that created XYZ product, and I can earn some commissions. Are you seeing any of that? Are you seeing people applying affiliate marketing to Google+?
I'm going to out you, Ammon. Ammon put in the private comments here, ethical affiliate marketers? That's an oxymoron, isn't it?
Right. That's like jumbo shrimp.
Yeah, that's right. But, military intelligence. But I think what an intelligent marketer of any kind would be doing here is not just worrying about, don't just come in here and say, like, is this going to build my search rankings higher? But take advantage of building your own community in here. And I mean that with big C and little c. Get your audience, as I said, we're building strategies that get our audience here. Now, the side benefit of that is as I increase my audience, as I get an audience who are increasingly interactive, if they're interacting in communities that are on my topic and that, that's all linked to my profile, that's building the authority of my profile, we know within Google Plus effect in search. I'm not speaking now, it got any effect out onto websites or web pages or anything like that at this point, but we know that some Google Plus profiles, as we've said, and pages have more authority than others, and those are going to show up more frequently in search. The other benefit that we haven't talked about here, and this might relate again to your affiliate marketing question, is that you are the personalization of search. More and more people are using the web, logged into Google with every passing month and year. And the bigger your Google network, the more people's search results you're affecting. I constantly get people I don't even know who are commenting on Google Plus posts that I put up 2 years ago. I mean, I get this every week. And I always try to ask them if I can, how did you find this post? Where'd you get it from? Wow. And 9 times out of 10, they'll just say on Google. They're not even Google Plus. They were searching on Google, and because they're connected to me, or a long time ago, or they connected to somebody who's connected to me, Google's elevated my content in their search. So that that's incredibly powerful, and that's something that a lot of people don't even think about.
Yeah, I see that a lot as well, and it's surprising as well how often I'm searching on a follow-up to some article I've done before, and I'll find my Google Plus posts in Google when I'm trying to find something else about it. Hello, Bill. Glad you could join us. As you can tell, we've all had a few technical difficulties today. I think we've got the full panel now.
The reason I had mentioned affiliate marketers is because marketers have a history of trying to game the system or find their way around things, and I'm wondering when that's coming for Google Plus. If some of these toys that you had mentioned are going to be starting to get taken away. Yeah,
it's already here. It's already here, and I'm gonna bring up something that
circle sharing,
a little bit controversial. Got me in some trouble with people before, but I don't mind that a bit. What we're seeing, one area where we're seeing it here in Google Plus is it's always been there, but recently it's become massively popular. Are these mega circle shares? They're called snowball shares because Google Plus has this tool where you can share a circle. You can create a circle and you can share it, and other people can add that circle and add everybody in it. Well, and you can have up to 500 people in one of those circles. Well, these marketers are coming in and building these kind of multi-level pyramid structures where they get people to just join in, and most of them take virtually anyone. All you have to do to get into the circle is to promise, or actually have to +1 the circle, reshare it to other people. So there's building the pyramid, and they get other people to join in the circle, and then you get put in, and when it gets up to 500, then they build a new one, and just keeps snowballing in the series. And so these people think that they're getting all this value because they're adding, and it does work to the extent of getting hundreds or thousands of followers very, very quickly. But as we've been saying earlier in this, what's not understood here is that Google doesn't really care that you have, just like on the web, you can have 1,000 links, but if they're from crappy sites that Google's devaluing, those links aren't going to do you any good. And so here, what makes Google Plus so hard to game for any real SEO benefit is, as I've said again and again here, the authority is based on relationships, and relationships are hard to fake.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that always puzzles me is when somebody circles me on Google, then I go to their profile, and their profile's empty, and I always think, well, how am I supposed to build any kind of relationship with you? You've handed me a blank calling card. And, that always seems crazy to me.
We call them here in Google Plus the blue heads, because if you don't put up a profile picture, you get this blank blue silhouette, and you see in these circle shares a lot of blue heads.
That's like the eggheads on Twitter, right? The people that don't put a profile pic in there.
Same thing. Mm-hmm. Typically, not always, but 9 times out of 10, you go and look, and there's nothing else in their profile, and they're not posting, they're not engaging, or if they are posting, they're just dumping links.
That's what eggheads are. I thought they were your fan club, Eric.
Always make fun of the bald guy.
Before we're all there, yeah, we're all heading there, mate. Now, one of the things I love about Google Plus is this fact that it's so focused on collaboration. I like the way it works. I love how open it is. I love the fact that for most communities you don't have to join them to be able to see that something's been said about you and read them. There are closed communities as well. I love the fact that I can just join in with any conversation almost anywhere. If there was one thing I could take away from Google Plus to make it 10 times better, though, it would be the name Google. I despair of people who think that just being on Google Plus is going to give them a big boost on the Google search engine. Oh, look, we're on the inside. This is going to do everything for us. It's not a feed straight into, past every spam filter. There's a whole new level of filters going to be on here, and I think more than anything, Google Plus is a refinement tool to teach Google more about us, about what we like, what we don't like, not just with what we say we like, and not just with our search history, but with what we can talk about authoritatively. Bill, of course, has picked out some wonderful patents over the years that look at authority and about topical authority. But it's very hard to pick that up from signals on the web generally, because somebody may talk about something a lot, but only their papers on a particular subset of topic are picked up. I don't talk much about a lot of the things I'm interested in. I can do quite a bit of stuff about cooking. I enjoy cooking in my spare time. I watch a lot of TV, a lot of movies. I don't tend to post about those things because, well, frankly, I think most of the time people aren't interested in that. People want to hear what I've got to say about marketing and about SEO, so that's what I tend to write about here. And Google would therefore have trouble knowing that I know those other things. And I think Google Plus gives it another chance to learn more about us, about what we can really engage with other experts in.
Maybe Bill could speak a little bit to that topical authority. I kind of bet he could.
Okay, quick aside first, just riff off what has been said so far. Google hasn't had much success with search in South Korea, and South Korea has the Naver search engine. They didn't have a lot of web pages, and they didn't have a lot of web pages about specific topics. So instead of working to build a whole bunch of web pages to index, they made Naver more of a question and answer type site where people could ask each other questions, provide answers, and then the search engine would search those. So to a degree, Google's built Naver on top of Google. We're able to interact in meaningful ways. There's the Confucius set of question and answer websites that are popular everywhere in the world but the United States. They're in like 168 countries, but not here. You can join the South African one if you want because it's in English, and I've done that. But I don't usually have a lot of questions or answers for people in South Africa. So nothing against people in South Africa. I just it's a long way from Virginia to Johannesburg. So I'm not going to have a whole lot to their knowledge, or I might have more questions than answers. But so there is that whole set of Q&A of user-generated content, of interactions, posts, questions, answers, responses, and a lot of signals that can be used to determine the quality of those and to determine some level of topical expertise. I see a lot of people talking about social signals related to Google, Twitter, so on, saying these are the things that are going to determine whether or not you're an expert in something. No, they're not. So, you know, I like the latest edition of Sherlock, and I might find somebody to talk to about Sherlock on Google+. Google knows I watch Sherlock now, and they know I like mysteries, and I like plot twists and all that, and they suddenly have a lot more information about things that I know something about, I'm knowledgeable about, and so on. Definitely gives them an insight into things that we like, things that we have interest in. This whole concept of an interest graph, and things that we like to pay attention to. And yeah, I do think that Moriarty does run Google. Wait, no, and his brother Sherlock. I think that Mycroft. The first 15 years were Larry Page's. The next 15 are going to be Sergey Brin's and his interest in information extraction. And around the same time that Larry Page was writing that first PageRank paper, Sergey Brin wrote one about how you could extract attributes about books, publishers, authors, and so on from some websites, and then use patterns that you found in those to find other web pages that cover similar entities and extract information from those and build a big knowledge base. And this was 1998. So the knowledge graph goes back far further than many of us may imagine.
You know, I'd love to include Carlos in this conversation as well, because Carlos, you're the first one that really started to kind of school me about some of the stuff you and the guys on your side of our business is doing just with Google authorship and stuff. And I see now from some of the reading that you've encouraged me to do that Google is starting to kind of crack down on authorship. And I'd love to know how this all ties together. And Bill, I know this fascinates you, but I'd love you guys to talk to the bigger picture of where Google's headed and where Google Plus fits into that in terms of credibility and authorship and how things are ranked.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's cracking down on authorship. You know, what I was referring to more so is, you know, and Mark, I don't know if you've covered this already, but in December there was a purge of the snippets, you know, from regular Google search results. So, you know, for a while in 2013, folks were all rushing to kind of Google Plus potentially because they wanted their little mugshot, their little photo in the search engine results. But as Mark probably will explain, that they purged a lot of that, and I'm right in saying, Mark, that it wasn't like a complete black or white situation where authors had either their profile in the SERPs or not. Like, for example, on quite a lot of the posts that come from the, that we do on our, one of our blogs, it'll have our profile, my profile picture, and then on some other pages it won't. So there's quite a grey area in between as well, where particular posts could have, rich snippets and the authorship, their attributes there, but other ones, don't have that.
Yeah, that's definitely. And some people know that I did a very extensive study of that so-called what I call a purge in December, where they did reduce the amount of authorship snippets being shown in search, and I studied hundreds of profiles, looking at profiles that seemed to have had no effect by it, authorship profiles, a mixed effect, where they had some reductions, like they lost the author photo but still kept the byline, or some that completely lost authorship. And there's a lot to that, but people can look up on Google Google authorship kidnapping, and that'll bring up my article with all the results. But what I saw in the patterns on that was that it seemed to be far more related to site quality and publisher quality at the most fundamental level than author level. But there does appear to be some kind of author trust metric that you see in some cases. And I would have even been reticent to say that if that hadn't been confirmed by John Mueller in a Webmaster Tools Hangout. My friend Joshua Berg got to ask him the question directly, and also by an anonymous Google spokesperson in a Search Engine Journal article interview, who both said that in some cases the quality of the overall content of an author could be a factor in whether or not their authorship snippet was showing. So that's the first indication we've had. Now, I was in a Hangout earlier today. We were talking specifically about authorship and author rank, and I don't call that author rank because it's not affecting, that I can see in any way yet, it's not affecting people's search rankings. You're not getting, these authors aren't necessarily getting a boost in search, but it is somewhat of a determining factor in whether or not their full authorship snippet is being shown. And that's the first indication we've had publicly that Google is beginning to develop some kind of author trust metric. And it's going to be very interesting to watch.
On that note, there was a very interesting one on Dave Naylor's blog recently, which we had a little joke about author Rand, but whether they used Rand Fishkin's markup, and it did make the article jump. Now, there's several reasons that could happen. It's certainly worth looking up. So anyone who's got the spare time, have a quick look at Dave Naylor's blog. And
look for my comments on the original post, because I've had some questions about whether that really is the authorship doing it directly. But it is worth watching.
Yeah. Sorry, Carlos, go ahead.
No, I was just about to add in, even though it doesn't potentially improve rankings or help to improve rankings, I'm sure there's some studies in terms of click-through. If you get presented 4 results, and the second and the fourth one both have a profile of a nice smiling handsome guy like Eric, I'm sure that they are going to get higher click-through. So it does have a positive effect all around, I'm sure.
Yeah, there were several studies that did look at this, and they specifically measured how much, sort of more clicks if one of the results had the little author post, the picture and stuff like that. What wasn't studied so much is what happens when all 10 do, which was starting to happen with some of the searches that you could do in Google. And I think this is part of the quality improvement that we're also seeing. When everything stands out, nothing does. It's that thing of, you bold something on your page to make it stand out, and then you bold this bit as well, and that bit, and soon the whole page is bold and nothing stands out at all. It's kind of along those lines.
The shocking message for many people, and I have in my Google authorship community, I get people that just don't want to accept this all the time, is that Google isn't interested in promoting everybody. They don't need to, and they're going to find, what they consider the best, which the best is, whoever's going to make happiest the people that click on the search queries and search results. So they don't need to find everybody. They don't need to rank everybody. They just need to find the cream of the crop. Eventually, this, if they follow the agent rank patterns that Bill Slawski has laid out for us, patents early on, this will have some topical relationship that they'll identify. I think they'll identify just the few relatively people in each topic who are worth a boost and boost those people. It's not like everybody's going to get a boost. And the December purge showed us that authorship is not for everybody. Up until then, everybody thought it's for everybody. If you just all you have to do is hook it up and you get your picture in search. Well, obviously, when you get to the level, like you said, Alan, where you're getting 10 out of 10 results on the front page with authorship, it loses any value for Google, and they're going to cut back on that.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Mark? On we touched on this briefly before, and it's not a big point, and I do want to spend, or at least have 10 minutes of this hangout for the small business owner that really doesn't know too much about Google Plus yet. Some maybe 5 takeaway points, at the end of the hangout. But just coming back to the thing about, say you've got interests on many different subjects. You're a big football fan. I don't know, you like cooking like Amon or needlecraft, something, whatever, but you're also a marketer. Would you separate that out, like potentially on Twitter, like we advise some clients, so that your marketing persona, if you will, is strictly marketing posts, and then you've got another Twitter handle for your cooking type, followers?
Consistent with one message.
Yeah, and I think I got your question, and I want to throw that over to Bill because I can answer it, but everything I'd answer about that came from stuff I read from Bill, so no credit. Bill has some understanding. Again, this is if Google decides to follow, which they're not obligated to do, the things that are in the agent rank patents, then there is a sophistication in terms of topical scoring to a single profile, isn't there, Bill?
There is a long path to agent rank. I started writing about it in 2007. The patent was filed in 2005. It's gone through 4 different versions where the claims have changed. The third one, they talked about trust agents, where instead of necessarily giving more value to the endorsements of everybody, they might vary how much value they have, and might limit it to special designated people who they've determined are trustworthy or trust agents, though they haven't said how they've come to that determination, which is fine because they have shared some information about that, like how trustworthy contributions are to Freebase, how trustworthy contributions are to MapMaker, other algorithms, other approaches, other things that people who aren't being paid by Google but are contributing determines how much value they have. There's got to be some type of threshold for any Google Plus profile where you're a bluehead, you haven't posted anything about where you work, why you work, what you like, anything like that, you're probably not going to be very trusted. You post from Brazil one day, Germany another, Asia the third day. Those are signals that say, hey, maybe you're multiple people, or you like to have a Learjet. Multiple people is probably higher probability going on there. We do have there's a patent originally filed in China that goes with the Confucius websites I mentioned earlier, where they talked about expertise in multiple topics, and you don't need to segment and compartmentalize yourself or your personality. Most people have more than one narrowly focused interest. If you like square dancing, cooking, subatomic physics, and you write about all those things, that's fine. If you're Bruce Schneier and you write about security-related issues Monday through Thursday, and your blog turns into the Squid blog on Friday, and you write about giant squids and so on, be true to yourself. Write about those things. Show off your expertise.
I think part of the decision comes down to where you want to brand yourself. It is a branding decision. How much do I want to be personal and identifiable as a person that people can associate with, as a well-rounded, multifaceted human being, and how much do I want to be seen as an expert on this topic, who talks about this topic and makes clear to everyone that this is my topic, this is my expertise, this is what I do. If I go to my doctor, I don't necessarily want to hear about what he heard at the weekend, who he went on a picnic with, or anything like that. I want his medical opinion. Sometimes that's going to be what people want from you. They're going to want your professional expertise, and they don't want to wade through a lot of pictures of your cat in a dress to get to it.
You can gauge that by audience engagement as well. It's like, when I started off on Twitter, probably 50% of my followers and the people I communicated to were UFC fans. The more SEO and search marketers and other people came into that audience, and small business owners that had signed up within ISOOSI, they don't want to be hearing my UFC tweets on a Saturday night. So, we set up a separate persona for that, and, axed them all from the ISOOSI account. So, and you can see it yourself by, if your followers start going down on a Saturday night after you've started tweeting about something you're personally interested in, it might be a sign that you might have to separate them out a little bit.
I think there's a difference between what you post on a social network itself, like what I post to public on Google+, everybody sees. Now, even though my main objective here, and people know me as a marketer, as an SEO, as a social media expert, whatever. And that's, I think, 90% of my following comes to me for that content. I don't shy away from posting stuff that's fun or personal every once in a while, and people seem to enjoy that. They like getting to know me as a person as well as a marketer. But in terms of going back to authorship, I'm trusting in what I do. I'm trusting that Google will sort that out, that they will, if I connect my authorship to all of my content on the web, because we know that they're still in the infancy of this, but we know that they're getting better and better at natural language processing, at being able to look at content beyond just keywords, to actually look at a piece of content and understand what it's about and what other topics it relates to. And so they will more and more know when I'm talking about cooking, which I'm not very authoritative about, and nobody cares when I talk about that, or when I'm talking about social media marketing. And they can sort that out, and they can they'll be able to evaluate me differently on those. They won't get confused. It's not just like I'll have one score, and my cooking score is bringing down my social media score.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't.
Because my cooking score would bring it way down.
Yeah, what would really worry us though is if your cooking stuff tended to rank above professional chefs because Google was getting it wrong, and that's obviously the kind of thing that Google's got to take.
Well, that's because I buy lots of AdWords about cooking words, so they don't.
Oh, well, they don't mind as long as you're buying it. Yeah.
So guys, let me ask you this: in the first several Hangouts we've done this year, we've done a lot of sort of future-proofing and conversations about where we see things headed and what we're preparing for moving forward. And I'd love to apply that question to Google Plus and Google authorship to all of you, Mark specifically. Is this where you see things headed, Google more tightly integrating things like this and putting more attention and focus and weight on these elements?
You know where Microsoft One has been trying to head, to make this central hub in the home of all entertainment. Google want to go that one step further. They would really like a Chrome box in every home that takes care of all your telephony needs with Hangouts. Every conversation you have that would be by phone is via Hangouts. There are already the things in place to connect that directly to a phone. A Hangout now, you can grab a telephone number and people can ring into that Hangout. this is certainly one area they want to go in. The idea of a set-top box, of expanding on Android share, which is the mobile, and bringing that into the home with something that equally runs apps, can do almost anything out of the box. I think that's a huge objective for Google. I think that might be 50% of their most important objectives this year.
Yeah, and it's certainly a reason why I'm on Google Plus. Why did I jumped on it when it was on its third day, not just because it was Google. I'd seen Orkut before, I'd seen Buzz. It wasn't going to get me on just because of that, but because I'd been already reading the stuff about that Ammon alluded to earlier, that this was something that Google had been using internally for years, and it was different, that it was about, and there had been hints that had been put out there already that this was going to be something that was going to be integrated, as it became known, the social layer under all things Google. So, Google's the game. They're still, as long as they're still 80% or better of the search market, that's something I have to pay attention to. And when they let me into their playground, and they let me play in front of them, and they let me show off to them, that I'm the big kid on the playground when it comes to topics A, B, and C, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity, and I'm going to learn as much about it as I can. I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket. I don't think that's wise to do for anything in marketing online, but it's certainly, I think, where a big part of the game is to come. And every indication that we've had from Google, every action we've had from Google, is that kind of integration is only going to get bigger and better. And the stuff that Ammon just brought in about the hardware, they're getting in the next thermometer. While you're talking on Google Hangouts with your family on the phone, Google knows what temperature it is in the house because you have a Next thermostat on the wall. All of that's going to get integrated into this, and it's just amazing to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, I'm seeing so much investment in Google Play. I'm seeing so many signs that Google's really starting to get into the idea of apps in the home, apps that run anywhere. And, we know that Google's very interested in perhaps leveraging the television market through YouTube. The signs are all there. It would be silly of them not to. I think this is going to be a huge thing. And I think one of the most insightful points made last year in the whole sphere of SEO is you've got to stop thinking of Google as a search engine. Search is a tiny fraction of their focus these days. It's an important part, but it's a small, tiny little fraction of what they're up to. And it's much more about becoming a global business that is in touch with so many of aspects of our lives. Google is building a relationship with us far beyond just us asking questions.
We use a lot of social media monitoring tools for a lot of our larger clients, and you've probably heard me talk about these things before, but Radian 6, and we like some of the smaller tools, more affordable tools like Raven Tools and Moz, but they're not really, in terms of picking up of mentions and things like that, there is still a lag between some of the monitoring software out there and them getting in, to have as well as Twitter and Facebook and other forums and stuff. They don't seem, to have Google Plus integration. Even the enterprise ones that we use right now. Are you, what kind of tools are you using to monitor? Is it more of a you've got custom things set up, or you're just manually doing it via notifications?
Well, I can tell you one that I'm very interested in right now, and I'm actively using and testing and helping them evaluate. Is somebody just put up a circle count. I think the circle count's been kind of the old standby. I certainly want to give them a shout out. They pioneered the Google Plus centered metrics, and they're adding new cool stuff all the time. Circle count's free and relatively easy to use, so that's definitely one we want to go to. But the one I'm using and watching right now is called Steady Demand. And they have a Google Plus page. Ben Fisher is the guy who is behind that, and he's doing some really interesting things on tracking these kind of engagement metrics within Google Plus, especially for brand pages, and coming up with some interesting stuff. And he's got a lot more that's going to be added in. I know some of the stuff that he's working on, heading toward, but that's one, again, Steady Demand, that I would urge people to check out.
That's great. We've had some pretty technical stuff that would be, we had a few comments about some of the Hangouts from clients and people looking in over the last few weeks, and I know a lot of it goes, we're immersed in it every day, so some of this stuff does go above the heads of, some of clients and small businesses, but I know there's another section of the audience that, needs to know this stuff in the technical kind of sense. So I know we've covered quite a lot already, but just to kind of bring it back down to basics in the last few minutes, we had a client yesterday, for example, Mark, saying, Google Plus, what's that? Yet another social platform that I have to spend time on, and we were trying to obviously show them the benefits of it as opposed to Facebook and Twitter. I mean, and you know from past conversations with me, we're sold, and it's easy to see for us. But if you had to encapsulate it in a few bullet points about the benefits to a small business that already doesn't have time or hasn't really leveraged Facebook or Twitter even, in my opinion, if they're going to choose one platform, it should be Google Plus. The benefit, they should try and spend time on the other social channels as well, and really treat social as its own channel and not just a way to boost or affect search engine rankings. Yeah. But in terms of benefits, it's just I really feel like Google Plus is hands down the place that small businesses, medium-sized businesses should be playing. And if you just had to encapsulate the reasons why, and then maybe like 3 or 4 bullet point kind of best practices almost. For example, the reason that I like it, and I think you alluded to this earlier, is the way that you can easily, manage your circles, or, by circle management, put people into different baskets in terms of what you're going to be putting out there. And, people who are getting their Google profiles together for the first time really need to know some of those basic things of how to get the most out of their Google Plus profile.
Yeah, that's great. I'd be glad to try to do that, Carlos. I think, first of all, I just want to say, going back to what you the beginning of your statement, to small business owners, I feel your pain on terms of there's so many social networks and there's only so much time, and they are very time consuming, and I don't have an easy answer to that. You have to. I'm writing an article right now that's basically encouraging small businesses that's okay to scale. Choose some place to start. Don't feel like you've got to be. There's so much pressure that, you've got to be on Twitter and Google Plus and Facebook and Pinterest and Tumblr and Instagram and whatever's the newest thing. Pick one network even and just get good at that and build an audience there. And if it starts bringing you ROI, which it should eventually, then you've got some return or justification to invest in building time. You can buy time. How do you buy time? You buy people. If you get to that point, you build your business where you can add people to help you and begin to expand and move out into the other networks. So, that's not Google Plus specific, and oversimplistic, but my article will expand on that more. But to Google Plus and to the reasons to be on it, we've already talked at length here about the SEO benefit, and I always say the SEO benefits because that's always. I've been at SMX Advanced and hear very knowledgeable SEOs sit up on the panel, and somebody asks, should I be on Google Plus? And they'll say, well, I guess so for the SEO benefits, and then they go on. And I hate when they say that because that leads to that thinking, as we've been saying, of all you got to do is show up here, build a profile, and dump some links, and you got the SEO benefits. And I think we've already established that's not the case. That's not going to work for you. So here's my pitch for Google Plus. Why you want to be here? I think there's 2 things. You have, as Ammon said at the beginning of his Hangout, this is still a fresh new world. This is open space. This is where you can pioneer. In many verticals, and I've seen people do this again and again, you can come in and be the early adopter and create the world here that your competitors are going to have to catch up with. Your competitors are already on Twitter. They're already on Facebook. When you're playing in their world when you're there. Here you can create your own world. And some of the things I said earlier about creative ways that you can bring audience in here. Go out and use Hangouts and events that you create and communities that attract people in, and then they're your audience here. So that's one thing. The second thing is the reach, the potential reach, as we've said, because of personalization of search. the bigger a network that you grow here, the more people's search results that you have the opportunity to influence, not only by your Google Plus posts themselves, but by things that you +1 and share get pushed up in their search results. And then finally, to address what you said about circles, I think this is so important. I have shifted 180 degrees of my philosophy on circles from when I first joined. When I first joined, I bought it, and even Google says this, and I don't buy it anymore. They say, put your circles and think of a business like, I can put my if I'm a bakery, I can put my bagel customers in this circle and my French toast customers in this circle, and then I send my bagel content to them, and I post almost everything to public because that's where the biggest benefit comes from. What I use circles for is on the other end, is for following and reading. And here's my #1 tip. I could say a lot of things about circles, but if you're new on Google+, as you start to find people to add and to follow, you're going to find some people that you're going to want to try to build a relationship with to get much more traction here and get something going. Put them in a circle of its own and call it your stalker circle, whatever you want to call it, your VIP circle. And what that enables you to do is to, if you only got a little bit of time in a day, go to that circle. If you have nothing else to do, focus on that circle and engage with some of their posts, reshare some of their things, +1 some things there. That's going to get you, much more benefit by getting a few people who have a little bit of influence to start to know you, trust you, want to talk to you, want to circle you and recommend you, than trying to be everywhere at once. So that's a lot of other things I could say, but that's my one circle tip for today.
Yeah. I've got a slightly different take on Carlos's questions. I think the one that immediately stood out to me is, it's another social network that I've got to try and keep up on. I think any business that's at that point, stop. Social shouldn't be a hassle. It shouldn't be something that you're thinking, I've got to do this. You don't. You don't have to do social. What you do need to understand is that your customers are going to be doing it. So think, instead of you having to do it, think of how to empower them to better represent you. And I think this is the outsourcing that everyone really forgets about with social. Forget about hiring a social media manager. Forget certainly about some third-party agency that's going to post on your behalf. That's not where you want to go. Empower your customers to talk about you positively. And that's really outsourcing it in such a beautiful way. It's free as well, which, is so much nicer. Just listen. And one of the things when choosing a network, where are people already talking about you? And that's the first place to start looking and engage in the conversations that people are already trying to have about you and with you. Jump in there. Google Plus.
Can forget everything else I said in this entire Hangout. If you just remember what Ammon just said, you'll be 90% ahead of the game. Seriously, that was beautiful.
And the next thing, Google Plus is a great platform for that freshness, for that newness, and for the fact that the way it's been set up so that you can create communities and you can segregate what you're doing, and it's so wonderfully focused. Even when 50 of your competitors turn up and are doing the same thing, your circles are still going to count, and their circles, and that interaction is still built in a way that I can't see in any other platform. If you just want to broadcast to a lot of people, go to Facebook, buy some advertising time. If you want to actually build some talk with customers, to have focus groups on tap, which Google allows you to do, it really does. And this is something I keep coming back to. Look, big businesses used to spend £50,000, $100,000 to get a focus group, to get an idea of what their customers were thinking. This is the biggest power of social media, is that focus group is there 100% of the time for free, already wanting to tell you what they think. And all you've got to do is take the time to listen. Google Plus has a lot of tools to make that a lot easier, and the idea of being able to do a hangout with some of your representative customers and actually ask them face to face and maybe show them screens of things that you've got coming up, I think that is fantastic, and that's what I'd like to see more of, is companies using Hangouts to evangelize, to talk to their best customers and get them excited about something, or get their feedback about something, and even sometimes talk to customers you've upset. and find out why. And even when they're together and can support each other and maybe even gang up on you, that's sometimes when you're really going to get to the times when you understand what they're frustrated about. That's my take.
Let me add something here. I've had e-groups carpet pulled out from under me. I've had Yahoo groups carpet pulled out from under me. I've started some social profile accounts on places like Twitter and had to cancel that account after 800 or so followers. Ideally, the best possible channel to use to focus upon is the one that you have control over, your website, your blog, your whatever. You can use other social channels, and Google Plus has lots of uses. It gives me a lot greater reach than just my website. It provides me a chance to create proof that not just the timestamp on my website when I may have blocked something, but the time that I posted it to Google Plus, the time that I posted it to Twitter, when I started writing some stuff that like Wall Street Journal and New York Times and all Bloomberg News were also writing about after me, and I could show, hey, I wrote about this first, you know. Told a Bloomberg News reporter, you know, it's interesting you wrote about this. Where'd you learn about it? From your website. Why didn't you say that in your article? Good question. So you know, having these multiple sources of yeah, here's where I said it. But recently, I've been writing a series of longer posts on Google Plus, and I've been calling them SEO beginners posts, where I write about different topics, and I associate them or affiliate them with either an older usability or SEO or whatever post from 10 years ago or 15 years ago, or something brand new that illustrates what I'm writing about. And I'm trying to write them in a different tone of voice or level of language, sophistication, maybe that's not quite the right word, in a way that is more accessible to more people.
It's about reader sophistication level more than anything else, your topic of familiarity. Yeah, I've been following the series, as you know.
Yeah. There are a lot of potential channels. You may have different levels of control over them. You may want to try different things with them. I started this SEO beginner series, and I had a couple of people on Twitter ask me, why are you wasting your time on Google Plus like that? It's like, because I want to. Because I can. Because I want to see what happens.
Carlos, I was just going to ask you to answer your own question. Why do you recommend to our clients that if they only have time to focus on one social media channel, to focus on Google Plus?
I mean, I don't like it when somebody comes to, you know, first of all, and they're looking for the benefits before they're actually, like, what can this give me before they even, you know, how about thinking about your brand first? How about thinking about the content that you want to share to your audience first? You know, don't be thinking about the benefits. But, you know, if you were to ask me which one I would choose from a business perspective, it would be Google Plus, because I think that the posts have a longer, you know, your content on there has a longer lifetime than, for example, something's posted on Twitter, you know, it's potentially gone in the flash of a pan and you know, the next day. So it's just a totally different. I mean, it's totally apples and oranges to Twitter. But so there's a longevity of the posts that I like. I certainly like the fact that you can interact with groups and go search for communities a lot more than in Facebook. I was having this discussion with Amon yesterday. I know that you can search for groups on Facebook, so you know, please don't email me that. I do know that, but I just find the ease of which you can find those communities a lot easier, and you can interact and start conversations going a lot easier with Google Plus than on Facebook. Facebook seems to be more about, you put your page up and then try and attract people to come to it either by Facebook ads or by other means. Whereas Google Plus, you could really just join a community and start posting, some opinions or some nice posts and get some interaction going very, very easily. There are, it would be stupid not to say as well that there are, I know that Mark did a post on his Google Plus channel yesterday, or I think it was yesterday or the day before, about, are the effects of SEO actually, are the SEO benefits of, your Google profile and from your Google profile actually cooked in as yet? And I think Mark didn't want to say what, one way or another. I hope I'm not taking words out your mouth here, Mark, but didn't want to say they're in or yes they're not. It's we don't know what Google is doing with all the signals that it is getting, but you'd be stupid not to think that they're not using it in some way, and as they're able to dissect that information more and look at those signals a lot more clearly in the future with things like Google Hummingbird and other advances that they're doing, it's only going to get stronger. So, like Mark said, they own 80% of search. They're the player, and I'm going to play in their game that they allow me to play in.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's absolutely.
Mark, do you want to? I'm sorry to kind of. I may have butchered what you actually said in your post the other day. Do you want to just? I know that people have been asking you your opinion on the benefits towards SEO, and is it actually getting cooked in right now? Is it actually part of the mix in terms of SEO benefits? And I know people have been wanting to kind of get you on one side or the other, and do you want to just elaborate on what you said on your profile the other day?
Yeah, well, I think we can spin wheels all day, and unfortunately, because of the things that I've said and I've written about, I get drawn into that. We can spin wheels all day of how much and to what extent, and exactly where are the dials turned up and turned down. And that's fun at a certain academic level, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And it's why I underscored what Amon said earlier. I said, if you remember nothing else from this Hangout, remember that. But the stuff that you just brought up that is really of interest to me, and that Bill alluded to, is this is a kind of secondary blogging platform. The value of that's something not to be sneezed at. That's the way I treat it now. It's like I do my big things on my home blog, but in between I'm always thinking of stuff I want to write about, or a news item comes up and I want to express an opinion on it, whatever. Google Plus is a great platform to do that on because, as you said, it's not going into the ether. Not only can it get great engagement, interaction, and discussions going now, but because as you develop an authoritative profile, it's going to come up in more and more people's search. And as I said at the beginning, every week now I get several comments on Google Plus posts that I put up a year or 2 years ago. So that makes it worthwhile when your content's going to have that kind of life to it. Yet another reason why it's good to be here. I have another place outlet for my writing. I agree with Bill that never get so invested on somebody else's property because it can always be taken away. But Google's made it worth my while to spend time here. I get back more than I give to it, and I guess that would be the number one reason for being anywhere, right?
I think that's the conversation that you and I were having some weeks ago, Mark. Well, a few months back, where we were talking about stewardship, and that's a whole other Hangout conversation we could have. We've covered a lot today, but when we were talking about stewardship and why you are such an evangelist of Google Plus, and you said, well, yeah, it's here right now. I could be a steward for right now. We don't have to have you don't have to think of it as being around for 10 years, 20 years to come. It's here right now, and it's the playground that is going to give you the most benefits. So I think that's probably the day that you converted me and showed me the light.
Hallelujah.
I've seen a lot of people who've tried various direct marketing experiments on Google and been very disappointed. I was trying to get this client listed, or I was doing a shared circle of clients. Yeah, that kind of thing really isn't flying. I think the audience is more sophisticated. Bear in mind that people on Google Plus most of them, this isn't their first social network. They've seen the others, they've played on the others, and if they've moved on, it's because they didn't like some of the spam that was already going on there. They were looking for something else, and it's not just the freshness. So I think if you try the same old tricks, that's the same thing that they were ignoring elsewhere, and they're going to ignore it here. But I think if you want to talk authoritatively, if you want to build up your authority in an open platform that isn't anybody's property and therefore is more open to everyone, Bill and I have talked about this in the past, because there was this wonderful shift in the SEO world from the forums of the days back in, Webmaster World, Creator Site. Most of the conversation was happening on forums. Then blogging really took off, and everyone went, well, why would I post on a forum where I can't own it? Why wouldn't I just put this on my blog and people can still comment, and I've got all of the features, but now I own it. And I think there was this walled garden approach that really came in. And do you know what? I think the SEO industry has become a lot poorer for it. Now there are 10,000 different opinions on a topic, and it's hard to tell from the argument in each and every single one which one is right. Whereas when it was in one open thread in shared ground, it was a lot easier to see where the consensus was, or where the people you counted most were falling on an issue. And I think to an extent Google Plus has become the new forum, but it's a worldwide forum on every single topic under the sun, and it changes its topics, its categories in the forum to match whatever conversation is going on. And I think that's a really good thing. And who cares if it's not around in 2 years' time? It is around today. It is powerful today, and use it today.
So, guys, we're over the hour mark, and we should probably wrap things up. I'd love any final thoughts you have that you want to share before we wrap things up.
As usual at the end of these events, the conversation isn't over. We do keep monitoring the events thread. So if there's any questions that anybody's still got, don't worry. We will get around to the comments straight after this show and ongoing.
2 takeaways for me, big takeaways from this conversation. The first would be what Ammon and Mark had discussed in terms of don't run into Google Plus like it's a Chamber of Commerce networking event and you're that guy that's just going to be overbearing and be aggressive and shake everyone's hand and hand out as many business cards as you can. It's not going to work. And then the second takeaway is what Carlos had said, which is you would be silly to not think that at some point, we can argue all day about whether or not this is impacting search right now, but you would be silly to not think that at some point that it would. And so that would be all I would add. These conversations are always extraordinarily educational for me. Mark, really appreciate your time. Bill, Ammon, you guys as well. Really, really enjoy these. And I just want to thank you all for coming. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, Mark, Bill, Ammon, Eric.